+2 Fahrenheit. For those of you that don't know, that is minus 16.67 Celsius before the wind chill, and it is windy. So it's a freezing cold day. It's probably around minus 25, minus 26, I think, all said and done, Celsius. So a pretty cold day, all in all. They canceled the races tomorrow at Northfield, which is probably logical. A ton of snow coming. It was going to be cold, but it kind of puts a crimp in our plans. We had a pretty powerful lineup tomorrow. And quite frankly, today we have a decent lineup at the Meadows. And although I don't like the cold, I'd much rather the cold than have it 30, 31, or -1, -2. And freezing rain, snow, mud. Those are things I hate much, much worse than +2 Celsius, or +2 Fahrenheit, sorry. So, I'm going to pop into the barn for a minute. Not a lot going on. It's just too cold to do anything today. You know, I'll be the first to tell you right now, we have some horses racing next week, mainly Woodmere Betcha. She will be short. There's no two ways about that. It is cold and bitter, and there's very little we can do. Sunday, there's snow coming. Monday, the track's likely to be closed. So between her scratch of last week and next week's race, we simply won't be able to train her. Training her today at the end of her getting her tie-up down would be risky. You would definitely risk her tying up again. So we're just going to play conservative and say, listen, I know she's going to be short. You know she's going to be short, but we'll get her raced. Same Agent Black might be a little soft next week also. Winter Soldier's going to be scratched Sunday, back in hopefully Wednesday. Going to be a little bit short. I mean, we're not the only ones that are dealing with this. There's going to be a number of other people that are dealing with it. There's nothing we can do. It just is what it is. So we'll look forward. We have 7 horses entered in Miami Valley for Wednesday. If you're wondering why I'm not listed on the horses Wednesday night, because we've run into one of these things, and one of these days I'm going to ask for a rule change. Yeah, I know I've missed the annual general meeting. I think it's in the fall. I don't care when any track draws. The scratch time should simply be 48 hours for the race. It happened a lot when I was a kid, trying to manage, because what'll happen is Northfield Park and the Meadows drew yesterday for Wednesday. Northfield Park will finalize their Wednesday draw today. That'll be locked in. Miami Valley doesn't even draw until Wednesday until tomorrow. So it makes it incredibly difficult for a driver, so to speak. There's not a lot of guys who would drift from the north to the south. But if you were just driving. Now, I know where I'm going. We entered 7 at Miami Valley. I'm going to go to Miami Valley. What happens if none get in? What happens if 3 get in and they draw the 9 hole and I don't want to go to Miami Valley? I don't have an option to come back to Northfield. And you might say, well, it's not. It's just the way it is. But why should it be that way? They're both Wednesday cards. And this has always been, this stems from way back when I actually was driving a lot in Ontario, driving in stake races, trying to figure out, what horses I'm going to have in the grassroots at Georgian, what horses are potentially going to be in the gold at Woodbine, trying to manage that traffic. So it's something, quite frankly, the drivers should have asked for a long time ago, and there's absolutely no reason not to have it that way. There's no reason not to have just a 10 o'clock in the morning, 48 hours before the race. That's when every racetrack has their scratch time done. You can't have it done by then, well, fine's on you. Anyway, it's neither here nor there. I just didn't list myself. I told Jason I wouldn't be here Wednesday. I think we got 3 in. They're all in a good spot. Aaron's going to drive Chicago Hall. He's going to drive Memento Mori. I think Justin is going to drive... what is this guy doing? Oh, this guy wants in. I think Justin is going to drive Bridge Over Broadway, and that was right after Tyler Angus is back jogging for us, and he's going to do a little training for us also. It's tough for a kid. He texted me today, said, hey, if you need a driver on Wednesday. Well, I'd already finalized the drivers for Wednesday. But Tyler's a good kid. He's just a typical kid starting out. And I know I've had people tell me, maybe he drove a horse bad, and I've driven plenty of them bad myself. but people, he's driven a horse bad, and they said, oh my God, he's terrible. It wasn't really that long ago, and this is how long we've been racing horses in stable, where I had people quietly ask if somebody could drive the horses instead of James. And you might say to yourself, that's ridiculous. It's happened. And that was back when before James was, world driving champion, before he had won 3 or 4 O'Brien Awards. This is way back when James was just starting out. When you're a young kid and you're a young driver, much like a young horse, we talk about confidence, right? Getting your confidence up. Well, it's much like that as a driver. And, you can put 2 or 3 cards together of bad drives, and all of a sudden you're shaking. Now you're underdriving or overdriving everything. It just spirals out of control. And that's what makes drivers like James, or like my brother Mark, or Scott, or Dexter, any of those guys good, is they remain focused. It's like a golf game, right? I'm more of a tin cup on the guy who's going to drive for the green, right? But the guys that do the best are the guys that lay up, right? They just know what the smart move is all the time. And one of those times, every so often I'm going to hit the green. But more times than not, it's the consistency that makes a great driver, right? And it's hard to teach, especially on a half-mile track, especially in Northfield. So you have this young kid, and Tyler Angus is a good driver. You got this young kid trying to mold his craft, and on a track like Northfield especially, you get Aaron, Ronnie, and now Dan Noble that virtually get everything. Justin Irvine gets a pile of good drives also, which doesn't leave a whole lot, right? Especially on a half-mile track. Now you're left driving longer shots, trying to beat drivers that are great drivers, and it makes for a long day at the office. So, I told Tyler, I said, you'll get your chance, don't worry. You've done pretty good for us, time and time again. You're a good driver, you'll get your chance. Just put your head down and work. And unfortunately, like I said to him also, you have to promote yourself, right? You have to let. Well, that didn't work so well. You have to let the race office know. So, in Ontario, the race office makes all the changes, right? They do all the driver changes, they do everything. So it's in your best interest to have a good rapport with all the race offices. Well, over here, the judges do it, right? The judges do all they're called the boards, right? They fill in all the drivers. Who's going on this one? There'll be lots of trainers that don't call in or forget to call in. Lots of drivers that'll have doubles. And you need to be on the forefront of those people's minds. That doesn't mean, bringing them coffee every day and kissing their butt. It just means letting them know, hey, I'm available, I'm here, and I'm hungry, and I want to drive. So those are, just a couple little tips, and most young kids have to go through that, right? Most young kids have to go through, and then once you get on the track, you have to perform, right? You have to execute those plans, and that's easier said than done. But a kid like him, I think he can probably get it done. He does have talent. He's got a good set of hands, but you got to get that confidence up, right? So, so I told Tyler he would get some drives. Now he's not going to have any on Wednesday, but following up from that, if we're going to start racing some horses in Southern Ohio, and I want to go down and drive a couple of them, then so be it. We will. The good news is I probably don't have to go down and drive a whole lot of them, but between the Meadows, now Miami Valley, and Northfield Park, there will be drives come on for him and for Justin and other kids too, other drivers in general. So that's where we're at for Wednesday. We've entered 7 at Miami Valley. They don't draw till tomorrow. We entered 3 at Northfield Park. They all got in. Bridge over Broadway drew the 9 hole, although she's racing so good. I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but she's going to be the favorite in that class, I would imagine. And then Allure and Tally the Tab are both entered down there. Hopefully they split those classes. They weren't going to get in up here. Memento Mori got in. Aaron's going to drive Memento Mori. He had another one in there, and I asked him. I simply sent him a screenshot of the race and just said, hey, if you want to drive Memento Mori, feel free. So he, I think he jumped off his dad's horse, actually, to drive Memento Mori. And then Chicago Hall, Aaron was listed on because we weren't, I wasn't going to be here now. Justin was entered on Memento Mori because he won with him the last time he drove him, but he has his own horse in there. So that's what's on for Wednesday. Tuesday, we have some racing also. Mortlock, Royal Duchess. I had a couple people messaging me saying, Anthony, why is Royal Duchess in a claimer? I just wanted to get her in the cheapest race we could because, honestly, if I'm going to be completely honest, she's kind of ready to go. And I don't think there's a big market for people out there looking to claim out of the maiden claimer at Northfield Park. And honestly, you know, she's still got a lot to prove. Also, I just want to make things as easy as I can. And I guess the real kicker, the real deciding point was there was one maiden and one maiden claimer. I could have put Mortlock in the maiden claimer, but honestly, aside from his antics in Miami Valley and his first start where he was kind of slipping a little bit at Northfield, I mean, the horse has been in 2-1. Amy qualified him in 2-2. He's already there, and he's a decent horse. He just did not get off to a great start. And I expect will be short also this week. Not only did he tie up a little bit last week and his liver was high, but he popped a quarter crack. So we had to address the quarter crack, and between all three of those issues, we couldn't train him also. So again, going to be a little short for next Tuesday. Royal Duchess qualified on Wednesday. She's coming back in 6 days. So really, of all the horses we have racing, she's going to be as tight as any of them. Or tighter than most of them, I should say. So we have Tuesday, Wednesday. We're going to have some horses entered Thursday at the Meadows also. Friday will be a day off. It's kind of a weird thing. I never know what days they're racing at Northfield. They just change their days whenever. Friday, maybe the Meadows, but I'm not sure yet. And then Saturdays, it looks like the Meadows in the afternoon. The last 2 Saturdays, I don't have much to do on Saturday evenings. And then, of course, Sunday at Northfield Park. So there you have it. This morning, the news is pipes are a little blocked at the house. It's cold as a bugger here. Now I'm sitting in front of Starbucks ready to go in, fill up my mug. It is 4 degrees Fahrenheit now, so I'm going to say that's minus 15, 14. But it is still windy. Racing today at the Meadows, it's a go. No racing tonight, no racing tomorrow. They canceled at Northfield Park. We have a couple at Mohawk on Monday, but brace yourselves. They may cancel also. At Mohawk. It's even colder over there, if you can believe that. I think Amy said she read a news report that said today or tomorrow, Ontario, Canada is going to be one of the 3 coldest places. It couldn't be planet Earth, could it? North America? I don't know. Cold anyway. So I don't know about Monday. And then I've already told you what we're doing next week. So there's an update of what went on so far. Not a whole lot. It's cold. What's going on next week? A little less than we'd like. But things are moving along nicely. All right. Take care, everybody. I will talk to you soon. Bundle up if you're going out. If you're thinking about going out, don't. It's cold.